Polish Catholics in the Springfield Diocese rejoiced last April when their native son, Pope John Paul II, was made a saint. Soon they will join with all local Catholics in welcoming a first-class relic of the Polish-born saint to the diocese. Rebecca Drake reports now from St. Cecilia Parish in Wilbraham.
A Polish native and member of the Pope John Paul II generation, Father Daniel Seimer remembers a trip to Rome when he was close enough to touch the Pope who would someday become a saint.
In high school, we went on a pilgrimage to Rome for altar servers. And then that event I remember the most because, you know, I was older, and then and he was like passing, like I was next to it. I could like lift my hand and like he could, you know, wave his. It was that close.
As a seminarian at St. Cyril and Methodius Seminary in Orchard Lake, Michigan, Father Seimer was deeply impressed by the writings of Pope John Paul II.
His writings inspires me. He wants to include everyone in the church. And many things he started, like the World Youth Day.
These memories of Pope John Paul II have stayed with Father Seimer and inspired him to bring the saint's relic to Massachusetts. Now parochial vicar at St. Cecilia Parish in Wilbraham, the young priest was in Poland last summer when he asked Cardinal Stanislaw Dziwisz, the longtime secretary and friend of Pope John Paul II, if the Springfield Diocese could obtain a relic of St. John Paul in return for supporting a planned shrine to the saint.
Our diocese, our parish, St. Cecilia, we're part of that event, part of that project, that great project of that great Pope that brought many things to the church. And he said, okay, let's see what we can do.
That relic, a blood-stained piece of clothing worn by St. John Paul when he was shot by a would-be assassin, will be received at St. Cecilia's during the 5 p.m. Mass on January 31st. St. Cecilia's pastor, Father Daniel Boyle, says this will be a special honor and blessing.
I think it's a tremendous blessing for us. Personally, I got to meet John Paul II on 3 different occasions. He really radiated Christ. His whole message of do not be afraid. And I think that's the message for the church even today, as it was during his pontificate, is not to be afraid, to trust in God.
Father Boyle says that relics, objects that saints have touched or even parts of their bodies, play a special role in the Catholic Church.
The relics help us to be closer to Christ because the saints themselves are close to Christ.
These relics, Father Boyle says, are not objects of worship but of respect.
We only worship Christ in the Eucharist. We don't worship relics. We venerate them. We show them great deference. We show them tremendous respect and care.
And Father Seimer believes that having the relic in the Springfield Diocese will bring the gifts of St. John Paul, his respect for all human life, and his focus on the sacredness of family life into the hearts of the faithful in Western Massachusetts.
God gave him many gifts and talents. He was, I will say, you know, kind of favored. That's why I think will be great, you know, to have him and people can come and leave their struggles, their requests through the intercession of John Paul the Great.
After spending the weekend at St. Cecilia Parish, the relic will be brought to the Adoration Chapel at Christ the King Parish in Ludlow, and, it is hoped, will find a permanent home at Pope John Paul the Great Parish in Adams. But first, following the January 31st Mass, St. Cecilia Parish will host a fundraiser for the International St. John Paul II Center to be built in Krakow, Poland.
With a Polish band, music, good Polish food.
For Polish Catholics, a special night to celebrate a saint from their homeland. And for all Catholics, a way to welcome the gift of the saint's relic. For Real to Real, I'm Rebecca Drake.